Good evening, Democrats. Are you ready to turn Maryland blue, all blue in 2022? My name is Leah Woody, and I'm an organizer for the Maryland Democratic Party. The Obama-Biden administration gave out over $100 million in grant money to high schools across the country to invest in STEM research, college prep, and internships. My high school, Bladensburg, located right here in Prince George's County, was one of the high schools to receive this grant. In 2014, I had the honor to introduce President Obama when he announced that we were one of the recipients. I experienced how politics can help communities, and I wanted to be a part of that. That's how I got involved in giving back to my community. When I started college later that year, I took an Intro to Politics course and fell in love with political science. The great thing about politics is it shows its potential when you elect great leaders like President Biden and our County Executive Angela Alsobrooks. Politics also reminds us how fragile our freedom is and how elections have consequences and how important it is to act now. Not tomorrow, not a week from now, but now. I joined the Wes Moore campaign around this time last year because my good friend Cody Dorsey told me about Wes Moore's vision for the state of Maryland. All it takes in politics is one person that can encourage you to envision a state that is more equitable and safe. That vision can become a reality real soon if we work together to get Democrats elected. Each and every day, I talk to Marylanders on the phone and at their door. What resonates most is the yearning for a change for the better. The hope they have when we talk about 4 years of Wes Moore and Aruna Miller leading our state. The joy that they have when they share a moment on the campaign trail with one of our candidates. The energy is contagious and the intensity is unmatched. I'm here to tell you that I've seen firsthand that this state is ready for this moment. Our volunteers make us proud with their relentless passion, and they take that lead from our incredible ticket. We all know the historic ramifications if we win, and we're aware of the brutal reality of the dark path forward of our state if we lose. We simply cannot allow that to happen. Our state deserves so much better than what the Republicans are offering. They showed their true MAGA colors when they put forth their ticket. And our state deserves a better QAnon flag hanging from the governor's mansion or a Confederate enthusiast running the Attorney General office. We cannot and will not go backward. Equity for us and for generations is on the ballot. Education, economic advancement, and providing true opportunities for every Marylander, not to just survive, but to thrive, are on the ballot this year. And most importantly, character, integrity, and morality are on the ballot. We're ready to do the hard work. We've been doing it every minute and every hour of this campaign. And I promise you that our network of volunteers are in every corner of the state making sure that we get the votes we need. We don't do complacency, and I don't know about the other side, but I know we've got plenty left in the tank on our side. We're finishing strong and we're sprinting through the finish line. Our message to anyone who has felt marginalized or abandoned in the last 8 years is that no matter what your zip code or your financial status or your family background is, you'll have a seat at the table in this new era of Maryland. We hear you, we see you, and we leave no one behind. Maryland, We're going to make you proud, and we're going to make the next two great Marylanders to take the stage very proud too. Are you guys ready? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to introduce Senator Chris Van Hollen and our next governor, Wes Moore.
Hello, Bulldogs! I am so honored to be here with the next governor of the state of Maryland, Wes Moore. And we have a question for all of you. Are you ready to give President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden a warm Bowie State welcome? You know, the president is with us this election eve because the stakes could not be higher for Maryland and for the country. And we are facing a choice, a very clear choice of two very different visions for America. We know that the shape of our economy is on the ballot because President Biden and Democrats are fighting for an economy that works for everyone, for all of us. Not just an economy for those who are already at the top of the ladder and the super rich. Republicans in Washington, well, they're telling us what they will do. They want to return to their top-down, trickle-down economics, big tax cuts for the very wealthy, at the expense of everybody else in the country. We are building an economy that focuses on folks who shop at the supermarket, not in the stock market. And we are fighting to ensure that anyone who wants to go to college, like the great students here at Bowie State University, that they are not weighed down with huge debts. But as we speak, right now, across the country, Republicans are trying to block that debt relief. And Joe Biden, President Biden, has it right when he says that the middle class built America and that unions built the middle class. You know, Republicans, they think the robber barons built America, and they want to destroy the unions. So I have a question for all of you. Are we going to let them get away with that? Hell no. We also know that a woman's right to reproductive freedom is on the ballot. Now, you know, Republicans always say they want government off their backs, and then they turn around and want politicians in the bedroom making the most private, personal decisions that are for women to make, not for politicians. Senator Lindsey Graham's introduced a bill for a national abortion ban. I have a question for you. Are we going to let them get away with that? Hell no. And we know that the future of our democracy is on the ballot because autocracy is on the rise from Moscow to Mar-a-Lago. And Trump's big lie poses a clear and present danger to our democracy. So I have a question for everybody. Are we going to let them hijack our democracy? Hell no. Look, all you have to do, all voters have to do, is look at what Democrats do and what Democrats say, and then what Republicans do and say. So let's start with the Democrats. Despite the 50-50 split in the United States Senate, you know it can't get any closer than that, and the tight margins in the House, despite that, we have gotten a hell of a lot done in the last 2 years. And that is because President Biden and Vice President Harris, they kept their word to the American people. President Biden said that wherever possible, he would seek common ground to get things done. And that's what he did. We reached across the aisle to pass historic legislation to modernize our infrastructure. We reached across the aisle to make sure veterans exposed to toxins got the health care they need. They were there for us, and we need to be there for them. And we came across the aisle to make sure we stop offshoring American jobs and bring high-tech manufacturing back here to the United States. And to ensure that all of our brain power is put to good use, we boosted investments in HBCUs like Bowie State University. And President Biden, he also promised we would finally have a black woman on the Supreme Court of the United States. And I was so proud to vote for the confirmation of Justice Jackson. And President Biden promised something else. He said whenever we had the votes, we weren't going to allow Republicans to stop us from moving the country forward. And he kept that promise, because you remember when President Biden took office, it was at the height of the pandemic. Thousands of our fellow Americans were dying of COVID-19. Millions of people were out of work. So we passed the American Rescue Plan. And rescue is the right name for it because it saved thousands and thousands of lives and put millions of people back to work. That's what it did. Now, do you know how many Republicans in the House and Senate voted for the American Rescue Plan? Zero. But did that stop them from showing up to ribbon cuttings and job opportunity offerings around the country? No. We have to blow the whistle on their hypocrisy. Now, do you know what other very important initiative every single Republican voted against? The Inflation Reduction Act, the law that finally gave Medicare the power to negotiate lower drug prices, the law that will confront the climate crisis by accelerating the deployment of clean energy. And it will also reduce the deficit by finally requiring some of the most profitable corporations in the United States to finally pay some more of their fair share. Like the 55 corporations that made over $1 billion in 2020, but paid no income taxes. So Republicans voted against that bill, and now they're telling us what their agenda would be if they took power again. They would repeal that. They would jack up the prices of prescription drugs and give the biggest corporations a free ride at our expense. And that's not the end of the story, because we also know from Republican Senators Rick Scott and Ron Johnson, they tipped their hand. They have told us they want to sunset Medicare and sunset Social Security, putting both those programs on the chopping block. Are we going to let them get away with that? Hell no. That's why we need to hold on to the United States Senate. And I ask for your support and vote in this election. And that's why we need to elect all Democrats to our congressional seats. And you know, the challenges we face in Congress are very similar to those playing out right here in the state of Maryland. And that's why we need to elect Brooke Learman as our next comptroller, and Anthony Brown as our Attorney General, and Aruna Miller as our Lieutenant Governor. And yes, we need to elect Wes Moore as governor, because we want more. We want more. So I'll tell you how we're going to get more. I'll tell you how we're going to get more. It's very simple. It's how I taught my kids to drive. Because I taught them, if you want to go into backwards fast, what do you put your car in? You put it in R for reverse. Also for Republicans, because they will take you back very fast. But if you want to go forward, you put your car in D, drive, for Democrats, because they will take you forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm Maryland welcome to the folks who are going to make sure we drive America forward and elect Democrats, President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden.
Season, I've had the opportunity to meet with people from Texas to Florida, from New Hampshire to Arizona. And I've been met with incredible kindness in each place. Still, I always feel most at home on a college campus. So it's so great to be at Bowie State. Thank you. And all our distinguished Maryland leaders, thank you for your very warm welcome tonight. Americans across our country have inspired me, and I'm grateful for every person who trusted me with their stories. They've reminded me of why we are fighting so hard in this election. So, are you ready to vote? To win? This is it. We have a little more than 24 hours to get it done. And it's going to be close. What we do right now will make the difference. So I want to talk to all you moms out there and everyone who has a never-ending to-do list. I know you're busy. I know you have your coffee before that sun rises, and you take the laundry out that you did the night before just as your daughter is calling for clean socks. And I know how you spend your day jumping from meeting to meeting, only to rush home just in time to make dinner. But this election is too important to sit out. So I'm asking you to put voting on the top of your to-do list. can, write it down in big, bold letters and help your friends and families and neighbors do the same, because that's how we're going to win. With one ballot cast, one phone call to remind your neighbor who might forget, one ride to the polling place. Again and again, these small actions build up to something so much bigger than anything we can do alone. It starts with you. It starts with all of us. Digging a little deeper, working a little harder to elect Democrats up and down the ballots. So now here's the good part. Sorry, Joe, not the... So, he's a veteran and a Rhodes Scholar, a small business owner and a best-selling author, a CEO of one of the country's largest anti-poverty organizations. And of course, he's husband to Dawn and dad to Mia and James. Let's have a round of applause for your next governor, Wes Moore.
Bulldog Nation, what's going on? BSU. Maryland, what's going on? We are so energized and ready. This is our time, Maryland. This is our time. And we are so excited to be joined here by the first family, our President Joe Biden, our First Lady Joe Biden. I tell you, Madam First Lady, we are so grateful for your leadership, and I want to give a special shout out to how you have supported higher education throughout your entire career. And I do want to give a special shout out also about the way that you've supported our community colleges. There are 16 remarkable community colleges here in the state of Maryland, and the First Lady is right. I did end up as a Rhodes Scholar, ended up becoming the first black Rhodes Scholar in the history of Johns Hopkins University. But I'm a very proud two-year college, and the ring that I wear on my finger is from my two-year college. I know my foundation. And we're going to support all of our students, and you have consistently done that, so thank you. Thank you. And I am so grateful to be here with each and every one of you, not just today, not just tomorrow, but for this entire journey. Because this is our journey. This is our journey to make Maryland the place that lives up to the principle that I learned in my first days of Army training, a principle that was simple: leave no one behind. And I want to be clear, after tomorrow, if I am blessed enough, if I am blessed enough to be your next governor, we are going to make that the new mission of the state of Maryland. Maryland will be a state that leaves no one behind. You know, it was interesting. It was interesting, Senator. The other day, a reporter actually asked a question, and they said, "Why are you all campaigning so aggressively?" And she said to me, she said, "Haven't you seen the polls?" So I told her, I said there are three reasons why we continue to campaign so aggressively. The first reason why we continue to campaign so aggressively is this. This is how I plan on governing. Aggressively, with urgency, and across every part of the state, so get used to it. The second reason is because the only poll that matters is Election Day. And until those polls close tomorrow night, we are running like we are 10 points behind. We are running with urgency because we cannot just win an election. We have to send a message. And the third reason is also simple. Because the stakes are too high to do anything different. The stakes are too high. These are uncertain times. These are uncertain times because we know that there are families who are struggling to put food on the table, that people simply want to feel safe in their own communities, in their own homes, and also in their own skin. We know that these can be uncertain times for families who want to make sure that their children are going to a safe and a quality public school. And I love you, teachers. That people just simply want the opportunity to leave something behind to their children besides debt. But let's be clear, these are uncertain times for democracy as well. The principles of the nation that I love are under a level of unprecedented assault. Critical rights, like understanding that abortion is health care, and we are going to fight to make sure that Maryland is a safe haven for reproductive freedoms and reproductive health. And critical rights like understanding that a democratic election should be honored and respected. And not letting and allowing Maryland to become a state where deciding to honor the results depends on what the results are. But in these uncertain times, I promise you this one thing. Maryland will lead. When it comes to making sure that every child has access to a 21st century quality education where parents, educators, and community members are all empowered, Maryland will lead. And by the way, that includes that we will make sure that we are implementing free pre-K for every child in need in the state of Maryland. That when it comes to tearing down this political divisiveness, while also building a workforce of the future by giving every single high school graduate the option to have a service year option, Maryland will lead. When it comes to creating a safe haven for abortion access and honoring the fact that that difficult decision to have an abortion should be made between a woman and her doctor, Maryland will lead. When it comes to making Maryland the home of innovation and entrepreneurship, leveraging our colleges and universities like the remarkable Bowie State University, and by the way, the other three HBCUs that Maryland has in the state of Maryland, investing in apprenticeship programs and trade programs and supporting our workers, teaching our students how not just to be employees, but how to be employers, forging an economic growth that we can all benefit from, and not just some. Maryland will lead. And I'm so thankful for the First Family for being here. So thankful. That's right. Thankful for the partnership, and also thankful for the recognition and understanding that Maryland is ready to lead. For being here to understand and also underscore the fact that this is going to be Maryland's moment. But I know that in order for us to accomplish any of this, we've got to do it together. Because if we stand divided, we cannot win. But if we stand united, we cannot lose. And not just over the next day, and as folks in, folks in the military and folks who have seen us on the campaign trail, it's not, a day and a wake up. We just got a wake up left, y'all. It's just a wake up. Right? And not just over the next day, but every single day. Because democracy is not a day. Even though I need y'all to vote tomorrow. And go bring all your people out with you. Do not vote alone, y'all. It's too much fun. Do not vote alone. Make sure you're bringing people with you. Yes. But democracy is not a singular act. It's an honor commitment. I love this state. And I love this country. And I am a true and a proud patriot. Where I proudly laid my life on the line to defend this country, and I would do it over and over and over again. And I'm proud of the fact that I am in a room full of patriots. I'm proud of the fact that I'm in a room of educators. Who come into the classroom before the sun comes up, who do not come home until the sun is already down, because you understand that our state's future fills your classrooms. Patriots, our workers, who every day are making sure that the buildings are getting built, our roads are getting fixed, our bridges are sound. Patriots. Our nurses and our doctors and our medical technicians. Who every single day ensure that our state is safe, our state is healthy, and every single Marylander, even in their toughest moments, are seen. Patriots. Our first responders who spend every single day running towards danger when the natural instinct is to run away from it. Patriots. Patriots who understand that loving your country does not mean lying about it. And who understand that fighting for democracy does not mean working to destroy it. Patriotism isn't simply waving a flag. Patriotism is giving that flag breath and life. And to show people that the flag represents so much more than just simply an ideal. It represents a promise and a hope. The same promise and the same hope that my immigrant single mother latched onto after my father died in front of me when I was only 3 years old. We refuse, and we will not allow one group to lay claim to the notion of patriotism, especially when that entails denying elections and storming the Capitol. We must lead, Maryland. We will lead, Maryland. So join me. Vote. Vote. And then let's get to work together. Build with me. Come together with me. Join us to make this Maryland's decade. Because together, we can and we will lead, and we will not just win an election tomorrow, we will win this decade. And we will do it shoulder to shoulder with our next speaker. A man who understands what it means to be a patriot. Because we're talking about a man who has devoted his life to service. And I cannot wait to partner with him and the Biden-Harris administration to make sure that we are fighting for abortion access, fighting to fight inflation, fighting to grow our economy, fighting to make sure that we are going to build a state where we leave no one behind. Maryland, please join me and welcome the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Hello, Maryland. My name is Joe Biden. I'm Joe Biden's husband. It's great to be at Bowie State, one of our nation's great HBCUs. I was at my home HBCU, Delaware State, talking to students about our plan to relieve student debt. And by the way, you got to forgive me, but I got my start at Delaware State. I don't want to hear it now. I like you all, but, you know, all kidding aside, you know, my family is, my dad's looking down smiling because he's from Baltimore. And I kid your congressman that your eastern shore is Delaware's western shore. Look, talking about my historic commitment to HBCUs, that includes the $5.8 billion I put in the budget for HBCUs. You know why? HBCUs don't have the endowments others have, but guess what? You're just as smart, you're just as bright, you're just as good as any college in America. And that money is to build laboratories and other things for the future that you need to have access to. Look, folks, you know, let me tell you, one of the great ways to honor HBCUs is to vote. Is to vote. Here in Maryland, you got some great people to vote for. Chris Van Hollen is up for re-election this year, and he's a great senator. A hell of a guy, make a great team with Ben Cardin. They both are strong, principled, and effective, and they got great congressional delegation. Steny Hoyer, so many others. Look, keep them. You need them. I need them. And of course, you got that next governor. What's his name? Wes Moore. That guy's the real deal, man. I just heard from Jill. Jill, he's a combat veteran. And then Rhodes Scholar. I've always worried about Rhodes Scholars, though, you know. They're so damn smart, I wonder about it, you know. But all kidding aside, Rhodes Scholar, anti-poverty leader, Wes is a leader who will build Maryland that leaves no one behind, and I believe that. He will be a great and historic governor of Maryland. They'll remember him. Folks, you got one day until one of the most important elections. You've heard this time and again. I almost feel guilty repeating it. Our lifetimes are going to be shaped by what happens the next year to 3 years. It's going to shape what the next couple decades look like, for real. And back in August, I came to Rockville to kick off the campaign season with Wes. And we're here at Bowie to close it out with Wes and all of you. And let's be clear, this election is not a referendum, it's a choice. It's a choice between two very different visions of America. I said from the beginning, my objective when I ran was to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out. Not its fundamental shift, and it's working, from the MAGA Republican proposals, their trickle-down economics. You know, you saw what happened last time under my predecessor. He was the first president since Herbert Hoover. I tell you what, let him sing. Let the man sing. Look. That's a. Hey, look. He was the first president since Herbert Hoover to lose jobs over the course of his presidency. Unemployment was at 6.4%. We lost manufacturing jobs. Nationwide, hundreds of thousands of small businesses closed, and the country in a pandemic with no plan out. Only 3.5 million people were vaccinated the day I got elected. Now we have fully vaccinated 220 million people. So we moved. And our approach is working. Since I came to office, we've created 10 million new jobs, 3.75% unemployment. And folks, black unemployment has dropped from 9.2 to 5.9 and going down. And we're making things here in America again. We're shipping American-made products overseas instead of shipping American jobs overseas. We created 700,000 manufacturing jobs. We're going to create thousands more with the CHIPS and Science Act. Companies are investing billions of dollars, creating thousands of good-paying jobs. Look, but for all the progress, we know a lot of families are still struggling. That's why, with the help of your members of Congress, I signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act. Here's what it's going to do. It's going to reduce the cost of everything that folks in Maryland have to pay for every month, from giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower drug prescription prices. The VA has that power now, and it's cut drug prices in half. We're going to do the same with Medicare. Big Pharma always stopped it. But not this year. This year, Big Pharma lost and the American people won. Those of you who have moms and dads or grandparents, they're paying a lot of money for their prescriptions, even if they're on Medicare. But we set a $2,000 a year cap. It can never charge more than that total for the year, even if their drugs cost $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, $15,000, like a lot of cancer drugs do. And by the way, how many of you know somebody who has diabetes and needs insulin? Well, guess what? They're paying $400 or $600 a month. But we're limiting the price to $35. $35. Period. And we passed it. Hey. Hey, man. Don't jump. You look crazy enough to jump. Don't jump. Don't jump. Look. And we're coming to make sure that $35 a month is for everybody. Why, that starts in January. Look, folks, we got to make things affordable for people. We got to make sure we're making big investments ever to deal with the climate crisis. You know, the MAGA Republicans and that guy up on the balcony there threatening to jump. They don't understand we have a climate crisis. Look, we're going to save, as experts say, we'll save an average of $500 in energy costs for people. And we're going to do this all while reducing the federal. You know, these Republicans talk about big spending Democrats. Guess what? I cut the federal budget by $1,400 billion in 1 year. 1 year. It never happened before. And last year we cut it by $350 billion. Look, we did it all without raising taxes on a single person, making less than $400,000. And I don't want you to hear from the Republicans who blew up the deficit. Remember, these are the guys who passed a $2 trillion tax cut benefiting the wealthy and big corporations and didn't pay for a penny of it. And look, we're the ones bringing down the deficit, allowing us to afford to provide ordinary, hard-working Americans a little break. And we're finally making sure the biggest corporations begin to pay their fair share. I just signed a law saying that they got to pay a minimum of 15%. A lot of nurses, doctors, they pay a lot less, more than 15%. But here, those days are over where corporations are paying zero in taxes. You know, in 2020, 55 Fortune 500 companies made $40 billion. $40 billion. And they didn't pay a single penny. Not a single penny. Well, look. Because we reduce the deficit so much, we're in a position to help families, working families, middle-class families, caught in a global crossfire of the pandemic and Putin's aggressive war in Ukraine. We're here at one of the great HBCUs in America. And because I acted, I'm able to reduce your debt by $20,000. 10 for debt relief and another 10 if you had a Pell Grant. And 90% of all the folks who get this relief earn less than $75,000 a year. And folks, so you can make a down payment on a home. You'll be able to start a business. Just give you some breathing room. And what are the MAGA Republicans and Wes's opponent talking about student debt? They're trying to stop it. The hypocrisy is unbelievable. MAGA Republicans who took hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars in pandemic relief loans, had their loans forgiven, are trying to block this relief. Marjorie Taylor Greene, that great American, she and her husband received $183,000 in debt relief, cash to pay for their business. And then there's another. She said it's completely unfair to forgive student loans for working middle-class families. Come on, man. Another Republican, Vern Buchanan of Florida, said my plan was reckless, yet he was forgiven $2 million in a loan. $2 million. Federal money. Who the hell do they think they are? Folks, that's some of the big stuff we've done. Now let's look at the Republicans. Do you know what their number one priority is if they take control of the House? They're saying it out loud. They want to get rid of everything we just did. The power we just gave Medicare to negotiate lower prices, gone. The $2,000 cap on prescription drugs, gone. The $35 a month cap on insulin, gone. Tax credits for lower energy costs, gone. 15% corporate tax, minimum tax, gone. The $800 savings for health premiums we got for the Affordable Care Act, gone. Look, folks, it gets worse from there. And here's what else they're doing. They're coming after your parents and ultimately your Social Security and Medicare. Who do you think you probably think I'm kidding. But don't listen to me. Listen to them. Listen to what they had to say. This guy, I'm reading from a plan by the senator from Florida, Rick Scott, who's in charge of electing Republican senators. This is their plan, okay? It says, all federal legislation sunsets in 5 years. If a law is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again. And along came a guy named Ron Johnson, Wisconsin. He says 5 years is too long to wait. Every single year should be on the chopping block. What do you think is going to happen? You've been paying for Social Security since you've been 16 years old on your paycheck. Folks, if Congress doesn't vote to keep it, it goes away. And it's not just Social Security, Medicare. They want to put veterans benefits, everything on the line. But look, but if Democrats keep control of the Congress, we're going to make sure veterans are always cared for. And you damn well know Army Captain Wes Moore will always have the back of our veterans. One more thing about veterans. I signed a thing called the PACT Act, the most significant law in our nation's history. It helps millions of veterans exposed to toxic substances, like the firefighters were in 9/11. Only these were those veterans in Iraq and Afghanistan exposed to burn pits the size of football fields, 8 to 10 feet deep, full of wastewater, tires, poisonous chemicals, jet fuel, and so much more. I was in and out of Iraq 30-some times and Afghanistan, and my son was there. My son was a major in the United States Army, won the Bronze Star. So you're waving, huh? Won the Bronze Star and the Conspicuous Service Medal. But his hooch was less than a couple hundred yards from those burn pits. He went in great shape and came home with stage 4 glioblastoma and died. The law guarantees health care to those exposed to the burn pits and tuition benefits for their families and their assistants. That's the least we can do. But these guys don't like it. But folks, there's more. Republicans in Congress, led by South Carolina Lindsey Graham, already introduced legislation to ban the right to choose. States are already passing bans without exception for rape or incest or even the life of the mother. Wes's opponent has introduced 14 bills to limit the right to choose. 14 times. If you elect Wes your governor, he's going to make sure the right to choose is protected for every woman in Maryland. If Republicans gain control of Congress and pass a nationwide ban on abortion, I will veto it. And folks, if we elect Chris Van Hollen and elect 2 more Democrats and keep control of the House, we're going to codify Roe v. Wade in January and make it a run of the land. And I love how these Republicans talk about fighting crime. On a federal level, we passed the most significant gun safety legislation in nearly 30 years. And we're coming back to do what I was able to do in the 90s. That is ban assault weapons. Wes Moore's a combat vet. He knows it's what responsible gun ownership is. He'll ban ghost guns, invest in community-based violence prevention programs. Maryland's largest police union and Fraternal Order of Peace has endorsed Wes Moore because he actually has a plan to keep Maryland families safe. Wes's opponent won't stand up to his own party. He won't stand up to the NRA. And he is the guy, this is the guy raffling off an AR-15 at a campaign event. Give me a break, for God's sake. He's concerned about public safety. Look, folks, as I spoke about it last week, democracy's on the ballot. Political violence and intimidation are on the rise all across America. And you remember January 6th, the angry mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol, attacked law enforcement, hunted down elected officials, erected gallows to hang Vice President Pence. Well, Wes's opponent supported that mob. He organized buses and paid for them to go to the Capitol because he thought the election was stolen. He tweeted that Mike Pence was a traitor. Think about that. For Wes Moore, patriotism meant leaving his family and putting on a country's uniform and leading his fellow soldiers in combat. His opponent, patriotism means putting on a baseball cap, inviting people to attack the Capitol. You can't be pro-American and pro-insurrection. It's real simple. And folks, there are more than 300 election deniers running on the Republican ticket this year. And Wes's opponent is one of them. These election deniers are not only trying to deny you your right to vote, they're trying to deny you your right to have your vote counted. With this election, these deniers, there's only 2 outcomes in their view of an election. One, either they win or they were cheated. One of the 2. That's their view. But let me tell you something. You can't only love your country when you win. Wes knows what patriotism means. His opponent, Wes described his opponent as far outside the mainstream. It'd be dangerous in the governor's office. Well, even the current Republican governor agrees with Wes. Look up what Larry Hogan has said about Wes's opponent. Folks, this is serious stuff. Let me close with this. Today we face an inflection point, one of those moments that comes around every 3 or 4 generations. We know in our bones that our democracy is at risk, and we know that this is your moment to defend it, preserve it, protect it, choose it. And I want you to know, we'll meet this moment. Remember, the power in America lies where it always does, in your hands, the hands of the people. And especially with young people of this nation, like all of you here. I mean it. I'm optimistic because I believe your generation represents the best educated, most talented, least prejudiced generation in American history. And in 2020, many of you voted for the first time. Voted for the first time. And guess what? Look at what you did when you exercised your power to. You elected Kamala Harris, the first woman vice president. And your vote allowed me to put the first black woman in history on the United States Supreme Court. And with your vote, I'm keeping the promise. But my promise, no one should be in jail for the mere possession of marijuana. And their record should be expunged. Remember, the power's in your hands. You're one of the reasons why I've never been more optimistic about America's future. Look, America's reasserting ourselves, leading the world in the 21st century. As I've traveled this country and the world, I see great nation because I know we're a good people. We just have to remember who in the hell we are. We are the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. So vote. Get out to vote. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.